Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you guys putting on from what I've listened to here earlier, a very nice and very informative session. So I appreciate getting a chance to kind of show what we do here at thesteadytrader.com and in general, sort of our investment and trading philosophy, of course, as well. My name is Serge Berger. I originally come from a bit more of an institutional background. I was a trader and investment banker at JP Morgan, and then moved on to the buy side to hedge funds. And I'm still today to portfolio manager, asset manager. So we do a lot of that. And I've been very fortunate through throughout my career to be able to see different market environments and different asset classes and how they act or react in different market environments. And so what I'd like you today to see is essentially what we call momentum. And I think momentum is an interesting strategy, particularly at this day and age, because we live in a very computer-driven market environment, meaning we are algorithmically directing markets pretty much every second of the day. And so what I think in my 26 years of doing this, I've never seen markets more focused on basically non-human execution. And so I think understanding that goes a long way, but it also it requires a process that's very repeatable, that takes the emotions out of it. And so before we get started, just want to quickly go through a couple things. Risk disclaimer. Essentially, what I always like to remind people is that trading and investing does carry a lot of risk. So I would encourage everyone to take this very serious. Also, anything I'm going to talk about here today is purely educational. There's definitely not no investment advice given here, so please keep that in mind as well. So my promise is that we're going to be pulling back the curtain on momentum trading, as I just said a minute ago, both long and short. And you'll see exactly how we do this and why we think it's such an important club to have in your bag. If you are a golfer, you will be able to relate to my analogy, but I think it's an important idea, an important thing to understand, that when just because you decide to be a trader, just having one strategy, is probably not enough. I think most people need to have a couple of them based on market environments, and momentum is one of those rare things that actually work in all market environments, as long as we're willing to understand that it's not going to always work in the same stock or the same sector or the same asset class, right? So momentum is always somewhere. The question is, where and can we actually find it? And so this is not theory, just to be very clear. That's very, very real. What all this is, it's not back tested or hypothetically shown. This is just factually how it works. So what I would encourage people here today to do and maybe what not to do, there's a lot of storytelling that happens on TV, on other parts of financial media. And as someone that comes from Wall Street, I can tell you the game on Wall Street is not so much to help you make money, but more so to sell products that make them money. And so once you understand that, most people ultimately will try to take a drastic step and take basically things in their own hands. So what we want to do is we want to be able to have our own process, not having to listen to certain figures on TV that they roll out every single day. I'm not going to name names, but I think you guys can think some of them, who are basically either permanently bullish or, in the rare cases, permanently bearish. But they typically like to wheel out the permanently bullish ones pretty much every single day the market's down, 0.5%. So rather than listening to those guys who can get you in trouble, which you'll see in the next chart, I say follow the money, because that typically doesn't lie. So, like, for example, there's a stock called MicroStrategy, ticker symbol MSTR. And this is, just to be clear, I'm not attacking any people or any stock here. I'm just trying to show you what can happen. So this particular stock, when I took this chart a couple of weeks ago, and it's, I think, more or less, that's even down more now, I think. The stock basically dived or nosedived about 40%, 40. While everyone on TV was telling us how amazing the stock is and how it's only going to go up and blah, 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 blah. Well, the reality is that was something that we could detect. In fact, our momentum indicator, our momentum process gave us a very clear sell signal, like very specifically on the 9th of October, at which point the stock ended up dropping like a rock. And we have our trailing stops in place along the way. So instead of having to listen to someone on TV tell us why it's an amazing idea to buy their stock or buy their ETF that they're having to push, why not just think ourselves and actually follow the money, right? And by the way, 40% is not nothing. That's a big drop. That's a very big drop. CoreWeave is another one of those storytelling stocks that people on TV can't seem to, ever find anything wrong with, and there may not be anything wrong with it, in fact, except for the fact that it dropped 35% at the time I took this chart. Now, a lot of people these days are very levered or inexperienced, and that hurts. 35%, that's more than a third of the damn stock. Excuse my language. And so, that's momentum that can be played, or at least pretty good signal to get out, right? So we received a sell signal in early November, and then the stock from there dropped 35%. And then there are storytelling stocks like Arista Networks, ANET, where we get buy signals on, then they rally 72%, and then they go into sell signals and they go down. Even on an intraday basis, maybe some of you here are intraday traders. You can see, for example, the NASDAQ 100 gave us a sell or short signal, and you can see what happened. It went down for one, but we also have a free profit target, which I'll elaborate on in just a minute, which allows us to be able to be better risk managers. But you're right, I'm already looking at the next chart, but momentum has been very strong throughout this year, all over the place, in things like uranium and things like silver and things like gold and all sorts of individual stocks and gold miners and platinum and whatever, all over the place, right? And so when we look at momentum, though, it's important to understand that it's not just happening in one part of the market. It happens in different parts of the markets all the time. Now, what I typically tend to see is a lot of people can understand what a trend is, but they tend to mistake or mix up what a trend is and think momentum and trend is the same thing. It's really not. I think a lot of people don't know where to get in, and I think most people don't know how to risk manage their trades because it typically isn't getting taught. It's much sexier for someone to tell you that you need to buy the most, the next latest hot stock that's just going to skyrocket. And of course, that's not really a process that will work over time. And so what people end up doing is they take a hope and guess approach, buying just because something's going up, but they're using lagging indicators that typically tend to get us in late. And there's really no clear plan for taking profits and managing risk along the way. Specifically, something like momentum really requires, we believe, a different approach. We need a very specific tool for that one job that is momentum. And that's, of course, why we like to use our indicator that we use for that. But it's more importantly than anything right now, before we go into that, is actually the word repeatability. And I would encourage everyone to take out a pen and a piece of paper and write down the word repeatability. Because repeatability in trading and investing not only helps us hopefully become more profitable, but also it allows us to essentially eliminate or bring emotions down to a minimum. The word repeatability of process. Because if we have a process we can trust, we're in a place where we can actually find profitability much more frequently and ultimately, hopefully, a P&L curve that's going to go to the upside. Right. Now, we're using something called the TST Trender Momentum Indicator. It's a momentum indicator. And we believe it's the right tool for this job, and it's designed to find momentum and ultimately how to manage it. Now, I'm going to skip through a couple of slides here just so we get to the point quickly. Momentum, we believe, is here to stay, as I mentioned at the opening. And momentum is here to stay because of machines. Now, what is momentum? Momentum, in terms of sort of its mathematical equation can be described or explained this way. So it's P, momentum, equals M times V. M is the mass of an object, V is the velocity of an object. So if you take that into sort of the more real world, or my world of explaining this in the world of markets, you look at momentum a bit more like this way. So imagine we're driving along the highway, or we're driving along the road, I should say, at, let's say, 45 miles an hour. But then we're pulling onto the highway and we're speeding the car up from 45 miles an hour to 75. It's that rate of acceleration that me and lots of market participants in my world, of the world of hedge funds and that kind of stuff and investment management, we refer to that rate of acceleration increase as momentum. Okay, some people have different definitions, but that's what we refer to as momentum. Momentum, though, and this is really important, momentum is not a permanent state. It is fleeting. It comes and it goes, which is very different from trends, which can stay around for much longer. So momentum is typically something that lasts for a while. If it's an intraday trade, it might last for, 30 minutes, 60 minutes, maybe a couple of hours. If it's on a daily chart, it might last for a few days to a few weeks, in rare cases, a few months. But it shouldn't be mistaken with trend. And here is probably sort of the major point I want to bring across before we now go into actually looking at this. This is the difference between a trend and momentum. And so a trend, you can see, is that long green line going from the lower left to the upper right. Momentum, however, is that darker green line, arrow, I should say. And what that arrow tells us is that this is where the car or the stock started speeding up again, right? It was speeding up and then going back into that sort of more constant speed that the stock was trading at. Now, if you are a trader, it is very likely that what you're really looking for is momentum. It's nice to have a trend, and that is ultimately where wealth is built, right? By owning a stock, owning an asset, and riding it higher for years and years. Nvidia, Palantir, gold over the past couple of years, right? That's how we get rich as an asset. But if we want to make money from a trading perspective, what we're looking for is acceleration, right? We're looking for momentum. Now, the challenges with traditional momentum indicators is that tend to be using lagging input, and that can lead to more frustration because it's going to give us more false signals, which ultimately leads to a lack of adaptability. Now, the reason we developed something called the TST Trender is because it works in much more real time, and that's very important regardless of what time frame one uses, whether it's day trading or swing trading. And it uses very specific parameters to give us what we believe to be much more accurate signals. So we reduce the false positives and it adapts to the signals. Now, why is it so awesome? Okay, I'm going to skip another slide here. The reason why it's so awesome is because it increases trading accuracy by detecting momentum, true momentum, early on. So it provides us with buy and sell signals that really offer better entry points and really good risk management. Let me ask you guys this, and this is an important question. How many of you in here are either trading at home, or you're trying to pass a prop account, or you're trading a prop account, or you are maybe a professional trader at like an investment management firm? Type in home if you do this at home, type in prop if you have any sort of prop account, or maybe type in pro if you're a professional. Okay, typically people fall into one of those three categories. Okay, so it doesn't really matter what you are, by the way. I'm just trying to get a bit of engagement here. But the point is, particularly if you're a prop person, or certainly if you're at home, for the most part, what you're looking for, from what we're seeing, is that you're looking for momentum to be traded. Now, what's really important about momentum, and you can see we've had some really big momentum moves this year in the S&P 500, for example. CoreWeave, all these stocks, they're real momentum stocks, right? Uranium, Cameco. Now, I'm going to pause on this chart real quick, and then we're going to start going into this real time. Okay, so when we when we look at something like Cameco, there's a couple things here that what our indicator does that it gives us right away all at once. It gives us a buy signal, which is that green arrow, and then it gives us a free profit target, which is that green dotted line. I'm going to show you this now for the next 10 minutes, repeatedly, so you can really see this. What you're looking at again is you're looking at a buy signal, a free profit target, and a trailing stop. So if you're trading at home or if you're a prop trying to trade a prop account, what's typically very important is that we risk manage the trades. What we don't want to have happen is to be right on the trade and make money, but then just because the trade then goes against us, we end up losing money. Once we have some profits, we want to keep them as much as possible. And so we use something called a free profit target, where we close half the position. And the free profit target is mathematically calculated based on the volatility of the time frame. And I'll show you that. So we have a day trading mode and a swing trading mode, right? And so that is very, very important, is to have these free profit targets. In fact, I can show it to you maybe on an intraday basis even, so you can see this a bit better. If you guys give me just one quick second, I'm going to show you to this like literally right now live, so you can see this. So here, for example, this is the chart of Citigroup. The ticker symbol is C. Now, I'm showing you this on a live intraday chart right now, just so you can see it live, right? So you believe me that it's actually working. So what you can see here is a buy signal. I'm going to use a big green arrow to point towards that green up, that little green up arrow. And so you can see we had a buy signal. And so this is typically where we would buy in pairs of two. If this was a stock, maybe I buy 2 shares of stocks, or again, pairs of 2, meaning 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, whatever, right? We would buy maybe 2 call options, or again, multiples of that. If this was a futures contract, maybe we buy 2 futures contracts. The really critical point is that we want to close half the position, half, at this green dotted line right there. I'm drawing a little green arrow towards it. Can everyone see those green dotted lines? And the reason why this is important is for the following. So please pay very close attention to this right now. This is really, really important so you can understand what this, so this is live. This is live, the stock of Citigroup. Again, you can see we got a buy signal, free profit target, and the stock so far, this is live, is up about 1.5%. It's not massive, but I'm trying to show you something live so you can see how it works. Okay, so now watch this very, very closely. When I, let's say, buy 2 call options, or again, pairs of 2, or pairs of 2 of stocks or ETFs, whatever, I want to close half my position at the free profit target. Why? Because I want to be in a situation where it's going to be very difficult for me to lose money by the time I reach the free profit target. Now you'll notice that this buy signal came here, so it became valid there. And you'll notice that by the time we reached the free profit target, the trailing stop, which is this purple line, was almost at the entry point. Now this happened very quickly, so it took a little bit more to catch up. But now you'll notice now that the worst if this stock were to drop like a rock right now and go to this trailing stop, the worst I could do right now is make about 1% on this stock. Now this is a slow moving stock. I know that probably doesn't get you guys excited, but imagine this with a more high octane stock, right? Like for example, I was looking this morning, we were looking at ON, which is on semiconductors. So for example, this is live too, right? So you can see this. So the idea here was to buy, again, the stock, and you'll see it reach the free profit target, right? Now, the stock has continued to go higher. You can see the trailing stop. So it's impossible for me to lose money right now. So if you're trading at home, or if you're trying to pass a prop account, what I think is important for you is to make sure that when you have a trade that's going in your direction, you don't lose money on it, or at least make it as difficult as possible to lose money. So right now, if I bought ON Semiconductors this morning, the worst I could do is make about 4% on the stock. If I would have bought a call option, the worst I could do is probably make 20, 30% or something like that on that call option, right? Does everyone understand this? Give me a quick yes if this makes sense, right? So this is what we call risk management built into a momentum process. Risk management is really, really, really important for all trading, in my view, but particularly for momentum, because momentum trades happen fast, right? On an intraday basis, obviously it's even faster, but even on a swing trading basis, okay? And this is really, really important. Now, let me just continue quickly with some, and you can see it here, for example, with Cameco, right? It was the same idea. The stock buy signal came there, then it reached a free profit target, and then the rest of the position was a runner for like an 80+% rally, and then we can use a trailing stop. Same thing for silver or platinum or all the meme stocks, even meme stocks like Open Door Technologies. You guys know that stock, Open Door Technologies? I took this chart, early this year. I think it ended up rallying like 1,000%. So the signal made like 1,000%. It's crazy. Again, I'm not trying to give you advice or anything. I'm just showing you what momentum can really actually do, right? Intel, same idea, buy signal, free profit target, trailing stop, right? And then we get a sell signal. So it's really designed to solve what I think are the two biggest problems that cause traders to fail. Number one is there's no repeatability for entry. And again, for the most part, people don't know when to exit, right? So most people, when they trade, they really have a hope and guess approach, and we see this every single day. We can also call it a spray and pray approach. I always have to laugh at that wording. So ultimately, that leads to not knowing where to enter. It becomes very, very random or emotional, and then we end up chasing moves or do panic selling, and it's a constant feeling of insecurity, and we don't really know where to even take partial profits, right? But partial profits is a critically important part of trading momentum, right? So when we get a new signal, as you saw here a minute ago, we don't just get a new buy signal or a sell signal if it's in the short side. We also immediately told where is the free profit target, where I want to close out half the position, and where's the trailing stop, right? Does that make sense, everybody? So this is really more of like a professional approach to the markets, which means we want to risk manage, right? So if I were to just show you these, for example, here's a stock, Adobe. You can see the sequence. We get sell. This is a daily chart. We get a sell signal, a buy signal, a sell signal, right? And if I were to, I'm just going to zoom into a couple of these real quick so you can see the same thing I just showed you: buy signal, free profit target, and the trailing stop along the way. Right. So those three things I think are critically important for anyone to do. Now, if you look at this, I'm going to quickly just fast forward because now we're a little bit shorter on the timing here today. Watch this. If I were to follow the three trades here, these couple trades here in a row, I actually tracked them so you can see. So that first signal was a sell signal, and then after the free profit target was reached, FPT stands for free profit target, we had a 5% gain locked into the stock, or 15, 20% if it would have been done with options. Ultimately, that trade made 15%, or that signal, again, about 3-4 times that with options. But very important is that after the free profit target was reached, the maximum potential loss with a very high degree of confidence was 0, meaning I couldn't have lost money anymore, right? And same thing for the other two trades, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to just move on here. What I'd like to do is I'd like to share with you how this works on some stocks that you guys might be looking at right now. So if any one of you have any stocks you would like us to look at here, I would be very happy to show you how this all works. So I actually prepared one stock just so we can start with this, and you guys can see how this works. So we took, I'm taking, for example, something called applied materials, right? So if all I do is use momentum, this is now a daily chart, right? If all I do is use momentum for my trading signals, I would have had one buy signal there in September. That one ultimately made 27% on the stock, right? So that's about 3-4 times that with options. So, whatever, 90, 100% with options, something like that, okay? Then we had a sell signal that did not work and immediately got stopped out. So we lost about 3.25%, call that 4%, just to be very generous, right? So we lost 4%. And then we received a new buy signal, and that buy signal so far is up about 14.75, call it 15%. Okay, so 15%. Okay, so now, and again, with options, this would have been 3 times that. So if all I did on, let's say, something like applied materials is use momentum as my guiding light, I would have made 27% minus 4, so that's 23 plus 15, right? About 20, 38, 40%, just with 3 signals on the stock. And again, that would have been about 100% in total with options. Does that make sense, everybody? I'm gonna take a quick sip of water before we continue. We only have about 10 minutes left or so. Okay. Yeah, you can use Thinkorswim for this as well. I'm showing it to here on TradingView, just because I can, I guess. Let's see here. Yes, and we actually we'll show you how to scan for this stuff as well. That's part of what we teach our clients as well. What about the S&P 500, right? So let's say all I did is use momentum in the S&P 500 for this. Quickly show you this. So let's say all I did this year is use momentum to trade the S&P 500. Let's go all the way back to maybe, I don't know, what is that, February? Okay. Then I had a sell signal that ultimately made about 6%. You can see the free profit target. Then we had a buy signal in April. Again, very quickly we reached the free profit target, and ultimately that signal made about 20%. So now 6% on that one, 20, that's the S&P, right? Those were some big moves. 26%, then we just received a sell signal a few days ago. Notice how it reached the free profit target right there, right? So watch this, this is really critical, watch this now. So it reached the free profit target and the trailing stop was right there. So this was a scratch trade. In fact, it probably actually made a couple percent or maybe 1%, so I'm trying to be very conservative. And now we have a new buy signal. If you're wondering what is the momentum right now for the S&P 500, according to ours, it's bullish momentum. And the free profit target right now is on the S&P is 697 on the SPY. Same thing for the NASDAQ 100, by the way, right? You can do the same analysis. I'm gonna, in the interest of time, skip that right now, but that's, you could also look at that. What about IBIT? Yeah, what about IBIT? So IBIT is the ETF that tracks the price of Bitcoin. Okay, let me quickly bring that over here. And by the way, just so you guys know, like the reason I keep moving the chart back and forth is because I have a different screen resolution over in the other one. And anyway, long story short, that's just so you know, that's why I'm doing it. Anyway, so what about IBIT? Well, IBIT, it's currently trying to find a bottom. Maybe potentially we'll see. What I can tell you is that we had a sell signal on October 15th. And what I typically tell people when they first start using this indicator is just go from signal to signal, right? So if I go back to the S&P 500, right? And if all I did is go from signal to signal, right? In other words, buy when I get a buy signal and sell that long position, and even maybe go short if I want to when I get the sell signal, right? If all I do for that, that's typically the best way to use it in my opinion. So a lot of people had a pretty big drawdown in Bitcoin over the past few weeks. We received a sell signal on the 15th of October, and it remains valid. I wouldn't want to short it here because the signal came on the 15th of October, but that was a nice move to this up. Now, some of you might be wondering, can we day trade with this? And the answer is yes. In fact, I'm going to show you that here in a minute. But quickly, Ben wanted to have a look at ticker symbol Bloom Energy Corp. Okay, so here's Bloom Energy Corp. So this is for you, Ben. If all you did this year, or at least since May, I just went back a few months so you can see, is use Bloom Energy, use momentum, you would have gotten a buy signal, then very quickly reached the free profit target down there. Then that trade made 467, call it 460, yeah, 467%. That's the stock. okay? And then we received a sell signal. Now that's still intact, that sell/short signal. Remember, and notice the free profit target's been reached as well. So now it's very difficult. In fact, it's impossible to me to lose money. I could have bought a put option here, or again, we trade in multiples of 2, right? So imagine if I went short now or bought a put option, right? The sell signal became valid there. So notice that the trailing stop is now actually at the entry point. So anyway, does that make sense? Who is this? Ben, right? Now intraday, it's very similar on an intraday basis. I'm just showing you ON, right? So what you have here, this is the intraday signal we just looked at together before together, I should say. You can see that the buy signal came right at the open today, and then it reached a free profit target. No, this is not automated. This is just, we get signals. Now, if you want alerts, so let's say you'd like ON Semiconductor as a stock that you want to trade, whether it's for swing trading or for day trading. For example, here on TradingView, and you can use this day and do the same thing on things like Thinkorswim and so on and so forth. You can click on alerts, and it's going to send you an alert every single time there's a new buy or sell momentum signal in that ticker, right? And you can get a notification by email, by text, pop-up trade alerts, whatever, on the chart, all sorts of stuff like that, right? So this is about momentum. Steve is asking, what's the difference between this and the market rover? The market rover is about trend following. This is momentum. Momentum is faster, right? Trend following is where we generate wealth, right? If we do it right and we follow trends. This is about trades, momentum trades, right? Now, I'm gonna happily take a few more tickers from you guys. I just wanna quickly show you, if you don't have a momentum indicator, how you can grab it, because we only have a few minutes left here. So first of all, I want to quickly say, this is not about guesswork. This is about getting very clear buy and sell signals with a free profit target along the way, right? And that risk management process is built in here. So this single feature, the free profit target, that single feature is really designed to build consistency, and that is the foundation of successful trading in at least my 26 years of doing this. So this indicator, you can use it on TradingView, you can use it on Thinkorswim, you can use it on Wealth Charts, Metastock, and NinjaTrader as well. You can get access to it right now for a full year for this webinar special. We made a special deal here. It's usually, I think, twice. So I think it's a 50% discount here today. And you can grab it right now. It's just $397. You can use PayPal or credit cards, and we would look forward to having you guys on board. We're going to do a next member session real soon, early here in December. So a full 12 months to get access to this. We also send out the trade alerts, our favorite trade alerts during typically once a week. So you get those handpicked ones as well. Our next member, and actually a couple bonuses maybe first here. We also include a couple of bonuses, including our 3x triple play strategy. Basically, that means that we also give you an additional short-term strategy, a long-term strategy, and a swing trading strategy as well. So there's a couple of bonuses there. We do have an amazing monthly member session that we really teach you exactly how this works. We give you a trader's checklist, and really a top-down process for managing these trades. The next member session, the next live member session, I should say, is on early December. I think it's going to be in the next week or two, so you'll be invited to that as soon as you are on board. If you have any questions, I should say, if you have any questions, there's a phone number you can call. It's 401-203-7389. Okay? Yeah. Atul, I'm not quite sure who, but please reach out to the support team. If you have any questions, Atul, please call this number right here. And listen, we have world-class support, so if anything is not clear or something didn't happen, please just call them. They will help you immediately. They're world-class, so you'll be in very, very good hands, okay? Sound good? Okay, now let me just quickly go back to this here. Someone's asking, can you intraday day trade futures with this? I do it all day, every day. So the answer is absolutely yes. In fact, I can quickly show it to you. So I don't know what futures you like to trade, but yes, I mean, that is quite frankly what I do all day. So I'm going to quickly show you a couple of these if you want to, and then we only have a couple of minutes left, and then I'll pass it back to our host. But just quickly so you can see, so let me show you, for example, here, let me see here. Give me just 1 second. Yeah, you want to look like all the micro cues. Okay, yeah, I'll show you that. All right. Give me just 1 second. I have to, again, I have a different screen resolution. So it looks exactly the same way, right, on the daily, on the intraday time frame. I'm just quickly, again, I have a different screen resolution, so apologize for that. So here, so like this is what it looks like for futures intraday. It's the same exact thing, right? You can see you get a sell signal, then you get a free profit target and the trailing stop. Buy signal, free profit target, and the trailing stop, right? So it looks exactly the same way for this, okay? Yeah, if you guys have any questions on this, whether it's, you know, the questions like lifetime or some other question, just call 401-203-7389, and we would look forward to having you guys on board there. Let me see here, what else? So again, I want to quickly just reiterate what's really important and what's built into the process here is that whole idea of the free profit target, right? And we have a day trading mode and a swing trading mode that we use, and we'll teach you this exactly in the next member session. If you already want to watch the latest member session recording, you can go as soon as you log in into the members area, and they'll give you access to all of it right there. But that free profit target can make a big difference. Literally, I've seen so many people turn profitable just because of that, because they take partial profits at a very clear point as opposed to guessing and letting things run too long and so on and so forth. So yeah, that's it. Listen, I'm going to pass it back to our host. I know there's a couple of minutes left here, but wanted to make sure we're on time, and if you guys have any questions left here in the next minute or so, I'm happy to address. Otherwise, I'm going to pass it back to our host.